Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 10 of the TriStar Sports Show. Jamie and I are here back again with you guys. We got week 6 coming up of college football, but before we get into all of that, we're going to recap a little bit of week 5, talk about Tennessee's upcoming game, and then we'll get into the week 6 slate and also show you guys our parlay of the week like we did last week, which we'll get into later, and how we were so close. But Jamie, the Vols had a bye week last week, so we didn't win, we didn't lose, but it felt like a victory because we saw a couple of the top 5 teams, 10 teams go down. So the Vols move up in the AP poll to number 4. And then obviously Georgia and Bama were forced to play each other, so somebody had to lose, which was good for us. But yeah, we're number 4 going into this Arkansas game. Give us your thoughts going into the Hogs.
Yeah, I think that we probably would have moved up regardless because, like you said, somebody had to lose between Georgia and Alabama. Whenever a top 5 team loses, whether it would have been Georgia beating Alabama or like what happened, Alabama beating Georgia, we probably would have moved to that 4 spot either way, but it's still nice to see. We're up there with the best of them for sure. Going into this game, we kind of spoke on it a little bit before the season started that there's a little bit of bad blood going into this game, just with a couple of transfers who left Tennessee in the offseason and now play at Arkansas, namely DB Danico Slaughter and center Addison Nichols. But I don't know if you've seen it, but they were asking, I saw one of our players say that they haven't been thinking about it or anything. They're just going to go up there and take care of business, which I like to see. I think that we are the better team than Arkansas, but like I've said since day one, a road SEC game is a road SEC game. You can't take anybody lightly, especially in this conference.
Yeah, I saw that too. It was actually Squirrel White who said that. And to preface for anyone listening that didn't see it or hear it, a reporter literally asked him what he thought it was going to be like seeing former teammates. You know, now with this whole transfer portal, you're going to start seeing old buddies at different places. Like Jamie said, his response was pretty blunt, but also interesting to say the least, as he said that no one has been in contact with him since he's left, which was a long time ago. And they said they'll see him when they get down there. He left it at that. So I don't know. I personally love that mindset that if you ain't with us, sorry, get out the way or you're going to get run over. And hopefully that translates to the field on Saturday. So we have Tennessee versus Arkansas Saturday night, another night game for the Vols. I believe it's a 7:30 kickoff. ABC crew, ESPN crew, the same crew that's been with us for the last couple weeks, it feels like. Tennessee opens the game as 13.5-point favorites, which is a pretty big spread for a road SEC game, which I think shows probably a little bit of respect to us.
Absolutely.
I guess maybe if you're an Arkansas fan, you feel like a little bit of disrespect towards yourself because if you look at Arkansas' schedule, they really haven't played bad. They've lost 2 games now, one being to a nail biter in overtime to Oklahoma State, and then they just lost this past week against A&M. That's who it was?
Yep, 21-17 to A&M.
Which we bet Arkansas to cover, I think 4 or 5 points or something, like 4.5 is what it was. So it was that neutral site game. Now I'm thinking about it in Jerry's world, and they were able to keep it close. A&M's not a bad team, so a lot of people can see this as a potential trap game. However, I'm going to hit it with the rebuttal. We're coming off a bye week, so hard to have a trap game right off a bye week. I think Heupel so far is 3-0. I saw in his career coming off a bye, and they've been pretty commanding wins. So hopefully that translates.
Well, yeah, you love to see that stat. Him coming off bye weeks means that he's getting his players ready even on a week off. But I guess talking about the A&M Arkansas game, I would have liked to see Arkansas win so they could be ranked during this matchup, and we can add another ranked win to our resume. Unfortunately, they are not ranked um, since they lost to A&M. But regardless, whether they're ranked, whether they're not ranked, SEC road game, don't take it lightly. Got a lot more eyes on you now. Not that we didn't have a lot of eyes on us before, but being a top 4 team in the country, I'm sure some Georgia fans Georgia dropped to 5, didn't they?
Yep, we're one spot in front of Georgia.
Yeah, so I'm sure some Georgia fans are pretty upset about that, especially with the way that game ended. But yeah, I think as long as we go up there and play our game, we've been talking about all season how defense travels, especially defensive line. I think we'll be just fine, and hopefully make that 13.5-point spread look like too small of a spread.
Yeah, this is the first time we've faced an opponent that's they're strictly run heavy. They also have a running quarterback. We haven't necessarily seen that this season. Grayson McCall from NC State wasn't moving around too much. Jackson Arnold wasn't moving around. However, the backup Hawkins for Oklahoma did start running around. He did give us a little bit of trouble late in that game. Partially, we were not game planning, I don't think, whatsoever for him. I don't think anyone could have expected a benching at any point in that game. But that's what happened. So I think we'll have a more true game plan, especially coming off a bye week and having 2 weeks to prepare for him. As long as we keep him within check, we really should be okay. I think I think we're still top 5 at rushing defense as far as yards per game. So if you keep that trend going and the offense does its thing, you're going to get up early and hopefully just not make it a very fun game for an Arkansas.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting into, I guess, breaking down what their statistics look like. They are run heavy. They've run the ball almost 30 more times than they've passed it this season, which I'm sure a lot of those passing attempts came whenever they were either down or in close games. Their quarterback is their second leading rusher behind their running back, who's actually currently the leading rusher in the SEC. And other than that, I mean, their quarterback has been sacked 12 times already this season for a total loss of 87 yards. And he's also thrown 5 picks so far this season. He's got just as many picks as he does touchdowns. If we can make him sit back and pass, if we can get him behind the chains or behind the sticks, I think that puts us in a better place. Let our DBs go out there and show what they can do. And, of course, taking the leading rusher in the SEC out of the game is never a bad idea or a bad thing to try and do. So, yeah, I think that's where our road to victory, or what our road to victory looks like. I think it's all well within our wheelhouse and what we like to do. So, like you said, contain the mobile quarterback and get it done.
Yeah, we as a defense so far have been very, very efficient on third downs. And I think a big thing to kind of attribute towards that is us getting opponents into the third and longs behind the sticks, like you mentioned. There's not much you can do against a Tennessee defense if you're in a 3rd and 12. We have the luxury to rush 4 guys, maybe just 5 or 4, and not only get pressure, but potentially get a sack, force a bad throw, and maybe rush the throw. And if it's 3rd and 12, you can't necessarily just rush a 12-yard pass. It takes a second or two for the receivers to get down there. Right. And then you've seen this secondary who nobody knew what to expect from this season play really well so far this season. McCoy has played excellent. He looks like CB1, if you want to call it that. He's been locked down. If this quarterback has a little bit of turnover issues and their O-line isn't playing great, we get them into those situations, like you said. I really do think it could be a long, long night for them in Fayetteville.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think the spread is pretty fair, given what we've seen from both teams this season. And I don't know. I mean, we personally are going to bet the spread, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But as far as Arkansas goes, I mean, you just can't catch yourself looking ahead to Florida. You have Florida at home the
Right.
following week. Whatever you do, just one game at a time. You got to just go win on the road in the SEC, whether it's flashy or not. Go get it done, and I think that's going to be their motto, and I think they will.
Yeah. One more thing I wanted to point out just on Arkansas's defense. They have forced 7 turnovers, including 6 picks and 1 fumble recovery. That's a pretty good stat line. Only 5 games into a season, averaging over a turnover a game.
Yeah,
So as we got to take care of the ball. They have one. They have one DB, T.J. Metcalf, who is actually the cousin of NFL wide receiver D.K. Metcalf. He has 3 interceptions on the year,
Hmm.
followed by a couple, or they got 3 other guys, Nadiko Slaughter being one of them, all with 1 interception. But he's definitely the standout defensive player, it looks like. 3 interceptions on the year so far. So, I don't know. Just take care of the ball, protect Nico, and yeah, I think we'll be just fine. I'm not too worried about it, but I did want to point that out.
so yeah, that's a very interesting stat. I think that kind of puts an interesting label on Nico going into this game. We saw in his first road game, we did turn over the ball twice. And in a situation like this, when you know it's a lesser opponent, the last thing you want to do is give him any sort of hope and momentum.
Right.
We know the defense is going to travel and play well. It's just a matter of don't turn the ball over on offense. I'd rather see a third down sack and a punt than a strip sack and a turnover. Like a turnover and give them good field
Right.
position.
Trust your defense.
Trust your
we
defense.
have that luxury.
We do, and luckily, we also had the luxury of having multiple receivers that are talented. So that their number one corner, he might have a great day guarding whoever he's guarding, but we move the receivers all over the field.
Right.
You're not going to just see him follow one guy around. We don't have just one guy. You can't really play.
Exactly.
He probably will just play one side and hope for the best. So, I mean, with 2 weeks to prepare, I'm really expecting a great game out of Nico. I think he wants to kind of not necessarily put up better numbers. I don't think he's really worried about the numbers, but I think that might naturally happen just because of how long he's had to prepare for this game.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, with that, do you have anything else you want to hit on with as far as Tennessee goes, or you want to get into the other games from last week and upcoming week?
I think we got the Vols versus Hogs covered, so we can move on to some of the craziness of this past weekend.
For sure. And speaking of craziness, Friday night was absolutely wild with Virginia Tech at number 7 Miami, or at the time I believe they were number 6, or were they number 7 then?
They were number 6 at the time.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I'll let you talk more about it, but this game came down to the wire. It looked like Virginia Tech actually really had a shot to win. Miami, although Cam Ward put up the numbers that he normally puts up, over 300 yards passing, they didn't look good, especially against an unranked opponent, albeit a conference opponent, but they were at home against an unranked opponent. You're a top 10 team, you're expected to take care of business, and they did not do that. But yeah, I'll let you hit on what actually happened.
So yeah, if you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, plug your ears because sorry for what I'm about to say, but I think Miami is a very good team. I'll start out with that. I believe Cam Ward is a very, very good quarterback. He definitely should be a Heisman finalist, if not the winner. Maybe not the winner anymore after last week, but he hasn't shown me anything wrong. He's not the issue at all in this situation. What happened was Virginia Tech played a really, really good game against Miami. Miami crept back into it, took the lead late. Virginia Tech then had the chance to go win the game. They were down 4. They had one last effort. They threw a Hail Mary pass to the end zone. It got there. It was a jump ball pile of like about 5 different people. The pile, everyone, no one really understood what was going on. The refs didn't make a decision on if it was touchdown right on the field or incomplete. A Miami player takes the ball and starts running and celebrating. The whole bench erupts and they start doing the whole light show in the stadium. Yet they still haven't called anything, and then all of a sudden, you hear the announcers go touchdown, and next thing you know, the lights came right back on, and Miami players are all just have their faces just drops, right? And
Right.
then we're like, what just happened? So they decided to go to review. Keep in mind, they called a touchdown on the field. So in order to overturn in college football, it's supposed to be clear evidence to be able to overturn something. You watch the review for 10 minutes straight. There was no clear evidence at all what the heck happened at the bottom of that pile. If he came down with it, if he lost it, if someone intercepted it, if the ball hit the ground, you lost the ball. There was no camera angle. And if it took him that long, I don't really understand how you had a clear angle because there's only like 6 camera angles in the stadium. How many times can you look over the same 6 angles and then decide all of a sudden, hey, it's incomplete? We're talking a very important moment of this season. Virginia Tech, while they, aren't necessarily a true contender, that would be a huge win for them and as a program. And it would have been less than a big win for Virginia Tech, but more of a huge loss for Miami. A home loss to an unranked opponent, a conference opponent nonetheless. I don't know. I think whatever they were going to call in the field probably had to you have to just say stands. If they called it incomplete, I would have 100% been angry if they overturned it to a touchdown. I would have been very confused how they could have made that decision. But that's what happened. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it now. Miami still is undefeated because of it. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was either you or one of our other friends was talking about the ACC might have made a few calls during that 10 minutes because as of now, it looks like Miami's their only hope at a playoff bid.
Yeah, I mean, what's even worse is nowadays they cut to the control center of these conferences where they're watching the replays. So they cut to the ACC headquarters, and I'm like, all I'm thinking is these guys don't want Miami to lose.
No.
They know if Miami loses this, it's going to hurt their resume. They're going to drop pretty far in the rankings. And if they don't win out, which I'm sure they play Clemson or whoever, or Louisville, someone else in the ACC that's decent, then the ACC could be, well, I guess they're guaranteed one with the conference champion, but I think they're ruining their chances at least 2 teams if they lose. Because, I mean, I don't know. It seems very, very fishy to me. I can only imagine what it felt like to be a Virginia Tech fan in the moment. If it was Tennessee in that situation, I don't think I would. I'd be livid, to be honest. Yeah, it would. I don't think.
Yeah.
Vol Twitter would have had a heyday with that. That's all I gotta say. I don't know. I'm sorry to Virginia Tech. That sucks because it would have been a nice win for the program. I don't know. I don't know what else to really say about it. They kind of just got fleeced.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, besides Miami, Clemson is looking good. I think that'll be a pretty exciting ACC championship, or at least what should be the ACC championship as of now. So I guess they would be the only other hope for a second playoff spot from the ACC. But yeah, I completely agree. I'd be pretty pissed if I was a Virginia Tech fan right about now. Yeah, I don't even want to begin to think about what the Vols would have done in that situation.
I don't know why there's been so much football on Fridays, but I'm also kind of here for it. We've been getting some good games on Friday nights. So I think we got more this week too. So I don't know if that's like a thing they're pushing for now, but I'm not mad about it.
I'm not mad about it at all. Just going down the line, save Alabama, Georgia for later, but Upset alert. Ole Miss loses to
Yeah.
Kentucky at home. Ole Miss is at home. They lose to Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky's shown that they can hang with the big dogs previously with almost beating Georgia, but this time they actually beat a good team, be it a fraudulent team or not. But I don't know. I mean, huge win for Kentucky, huge loss for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I can't remember what our exact prediction was. I think we kind of went along with the lines of we think Ole Miss wins this game, but we would not be shocked if Kentucky like gives them a run for their
Kept it
money.
interesting. Yeah.
And they did not just give them a run for their money; they beat them.
Yeah.
I think the game finished with a missed field goal by Ole Miss. I think they were trying to tie the game late, and just he shanked the field goal to try to send it to overtime. I think it's much worse that it was a home game. And now Ole Miss has a loss on the record that I don't think they were expecting this early in the season. But
Absolutely not.
they finally played somebody, and it came back to bite them in the butt because they're one loss now. I don't know where they dropped in the poll. I think to like 12.
I can tell you real quick.
I think they went from 6 to 12.
I think you're right. Did they play this week?
They're 0-1 in conference play now. I don't know who. Hopefully, for Ole Miss, they have a bye right now because if they have a tough game coming up, that would be not a great place to be.
Their next game, they play. Oh, they play South Carolina.
Oh yeah, what are we thinking?
Yeah. We're going to
we
talk about that game later.
Predicted later. Yeah. What am I thinking?
But anyways,
it's a terrible spot to
now.
be because that's a road game and to a team that just recently waxed the team that just beat you. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll save that for later. But
right,
yeah, not a great showing for them though.
Not at all. Next, we have Illinois against Penn State. I don't want to hit too much on this game, but it was part of our parlay, and Illinois did cover. It was a very, very low-scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch too much of it. I kept up with it on my phone, but I believe it was during the either right before or during the Georgia-Alabama game. So obviously that was the game that was on the TV at the time. So, but yeah, Illinois did exactly what we thought they were going to do. Looks like the under may have been a better play, but I mean, hey, they covered.
I mean, yeah, the main reason why we chose them to cover was I thought Illinois' defense has played really, really great through the first few weeks. And what they needed to do was make that an ugly, low-scoring Big Ten battle. And that's exactly what they did. And I didn't even know going into it that it was a Penn State whiteout. I would have probably maybe picked a little bit differently if I knew that. For some reason, they've always played really well whenever they do the whiteout. But
we didn't overthink it.
We didn't overthink it. We didn't allow any of the outside noise to kind of change our opinions, which is good. So I'm glad we didn't know because that would have hit.
Right. I mean, I'm sure Penn State's happy. I'm sure Illinois isn't happy, but I don't think they have too much to be mad about. I mean,
there's much worse losses.
It's not like they were supposed to win. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of much worse losses, unranked Arizona going into Utah and winning 23-10. I mean, I've been high on Arizona all year just because of some of the crazy draft prospects they have, like McMillan at receiver, and then they have another really, really good DB. His name escapes my mind right now, but I mean, yeah, beating a top 10 team on the road, top 10 conference team on the road is always a huge win.
Yeah, and they have a pretty solid quarterback too. I'm not too familiar with him. He might have been a transfer. Or, I don't know. I've heard of him before. They played well.
I believe Utah may have been without Rising.
They were. That was what I was about to say. He was out that game, which definitely is an impact. Right. But to be honest, over his 7-year career, he's missed plenty of games. That's why he's been in college for 7 years. So it feels like sometimes Utah has been without Cam Rising more than they've been with him. So This is not
Exactly.
unfamiliar, uncharted territory, which is why I always have a hard time believing that they should be as ranked as high as they are. Just because, sure, if Cam Rising's healthy, yeah, they're a solid football team. When he's not, we don't really know what to expect. And
Yeah.
what we got this time was a uh, unranked opponent beating them.
Beating them by double digits. Sick,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Other than that, don't want to spend too long on some of these games, but Minnesota gave Michigan a fight. Michigan got out of there winning 27-24. Good win for Michigan, I guess. An ugly win, still a win. But I'm happy with I'd be happy if I was Minnesota putting up that big of a fight against a good football team. You have anything on that one?
I was just gonna say, I mean, it's Big Ten football.
Right.
If you're looking for something to bet on Saturdays and you don't watch a lot of football, go to a Big Ten game and just probably hammer the under. It sometimes feels like it's automatic. There's these low scoring, run the ball, punt, play good defense mindsets, and
Yeah.
say what you want, but we'll kind of see how that plays out in the playoffs this year. I wouldn't be shocked if a third Big Ten team or something sneaks in and makes a run solely for the fact that in the middle of after in a playoff run in the NFL, you'll see what the Titans used to do is give Derrick Henry the ball in the postseason because A, it's cold, B, it's been a long season, people are tired. You don't always want to you don't want to have to play against a team that runs the ball 30, 40 times a game when you've already played 13, 14 games in a season. That sucks. It sucks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, definitely something to be said about having a good running game, especially in the colder months. Next, I guess Notre Dame upset. Not really an upset because they were at home.
Sort of, yeah.
Beat a higher ranked opponent in Louisville, 31-24. Good win for them. I mean, I'm not super high on either team right now, especially after Notre Dame's Northern Illinois loss. That one's going to hang over their head for a long time, especially whenever it comes selection day.
Right.
Clemson taking care of business against Stanford. Clemson's starting to make their way back up the rankings. I hit on them earlier. I think they could potentially sneak into a 10, 11, 12 spot if they win out or if they keep playing good.
I mean, they could win that. Hey, don't count them out to win that conference. That's all I'm going to say.
No, not at all.
I mean,
it seems like Dabo's got Cade Klubnik playing pretty well.
The big difference between Clemson and every other team in the ACC team right now is Dabo Swinney. We can hate on Dabo Swinney all we want. He's been there before. He has.
Right.
And he knows how to get there. He's won, I think, 2 championships? He's won multiple. So,
yeah.
And I can't even tell you how many ACC championships. I think they won so many in a row, it felt like.
I mean, between Deshaun and Trevor, did they win
8?
6 or 7 in a row? Probably. Don't quote me on that. But
I mean, I think there was some sprinkled in other ones here or there, but
right. Yeah.
That's the difference to me. When it comes down to Miami and Clemson at the end of the year, I don't remember if they play in the regular season or whatnot. But if they play for the conference championship, Miami hasn't been there in a long time. None of these players have been there. But Dabo has. So
who's Miami's coach? Is it still Cristobal?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's shown less than stellar clock management and performances in big games before.
Sure has.
So we'll have to see about that one.
I mean, they were a Hail Mary away from losing last week. So
they were a Hail Mary.
They did lose last week. I'm putting an
asterisk.
I'm sitting here and I'm putting an asterisk on their record for the rest of the year because I think that is so uncool what happened.
It was. Oklahoma State screwed me over at least. I definitely had them picked to beat Kansas State. I mean, they were the higher ranked team. I know it was at Kansas State, but man, Kansas State looked awful against BYU.
Right.
Kansas State wins by 22 points, puts up 42 on Oklahoma State. I mean, I don't know what has happened to Ollie Gordon, but he's not getting it done. Oklahoma State's not getting it done. I don't know what's going
He
on over
got he
there.
got in trouble this offseason, and it seems like
He did.
he hasn't been the same person
And
since. I don't know.
Gundy backed him up on it.
He more than backed him up on it. He doubled down. He actually
Yeah.
1,000 times tripled down on it. But
Yeah.
you guys can research that on your own time. We're not going to talk about their issues, but I don't know. He's been non-existent this year. Honestly,
Yeah.
I mean, he
Supposed
was
to be
so
one of the
hyped up.
best
He was
players
so
in the
hyped up going to the season. Fucking Heisman candidate. He was all over the college football video game. It felt like they were promoting the heck out of him. I mean, I don't know. You can argue the same thing with Gus Edwards too, and over at Michigan.
Donovan
Or
Edwards.
not Donovan Edwards. Sorry, not Gus Edwards, but Michigan running back.
He was all over the place.
Yeah, and it seemed is there gonna be a college football cover athlete curse? Quinn Ewers is hurt.
I don't know.
Travis Hunter's
the last standing. Oh
or
yeah,
Travis
it was Travis. Not
Travis Hunter's balling out, so
he's balling, but his curse is playing for Colorado.
I guess if you put 3 people on the cover, surely one of them hits.
Yeah.
One of them.
This next one, I thought was a great game. Oklahoma at Auburn. I mean, it looked like
yes,
that was a great game. It looked like Auburn was winning the game for most of it, and then there at the end, kind of after halftime, Oklahoma just started creeping back, and I don't know. I kind of knew after the double missed field goals by Auburn that they were probably in a rough spot. I mean, it was right before halftime. Auburn lines up to kick a field goal. He kicks it and misses it. I think Oklahoma had either too many men on the field or something was going on. So they not only do they get penalty yards closer, but he also gets another try, and then he misses it again. I was like, okay, well, if this game comes close, my money's on Oklahoma, and they ended up winning the game. Congrats to them. I mean, we've already beat them, so I don't really care what they do anymore. Hopefully they go and win out. Yeah, hopefully they win out, make us look really good.
Hawkins, their quarterback, played pretty solid. But
he looks good.
Going to Auburn, I saw a video of Auburn students leaving the stadium early, thinking that they won because they had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, and you know how they have their tumors corner where they throw the toilet paper and TP all the trees. People were there was some toilet paper thrown a little prematurely, and then the camera then pans to like flash forward 10 minutes later, and there's like people crying. So it was not.
They won't do that again.
No, yeah. I don't know if it was necessarily people. They said it was people leaving the stadium. I'm guessing nobody left the stadium with a 10-point game in the fourth quarter. It was probably more people leaving bars, restaurants, apartments. Right. That they all wanted to be there for the celebration because it would have been a big win. And honestly, that kind of just sums up the way Auburn's program is right now. It's like a slight bit of a disaster. They show flashes of being good, and then there's moments you're like, what are they doing? Thorne is their quarterback. He played the first couple weeks, played bad. They benched him, brought in the other guy. He played amazing. And the following week, he threw like 3 or 4 interceptions, and they lost. And then they bring Thorne back in for this game against Oklahoma. He balled out. And then in the fourth quarter, he throws a pick 6 when they're up like 10, which is the last thing you need to be doing in the fourth quarter.
Exactly.
And so they snuck back in the game, and then Oklahoma won it late, and Auburn loses another game. So, which is shout out Oklahoma. That's their first SEC win. So,
hey, good for them
as a program.
Yeah, no kidding. Next on my list, at least, I have BYU beating Baylor on the road. We talked about this game last week. BYU coming off a big win against Kansas State, and Baylor coming off a heartbreaking Hail Mary loss to Colorado. We didn't know how this game was going to go. I mean, we kind of thought that Baylor might come out pissed off and run up the score on them, but it really starting to look like BYU is a better team than what a lot of people gave them credit for, and they might be serious contenders in the Big 12.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Who is their one loss to again?
I'm not sure. Let me look.
Because they beat. They lost. Because they beat
BYU's
Kansas.
5-0.
Oh, so they haven't lost. Okay, cool.
No.
So
They
yeah,
beat Baylor, beat Kansas State, beat Wyoming, beat SMU, and a team I don't know. A mascot I don't recognize.
So yeah, they're 5-0, looking good. That Big 12 honestly is a little bit wide open. Couple teams have emerged here or there, them being one of them, Iowa State being another one. They continue to win and climb up the rankings.
Kansas State
Colorado
still looks good.
is who?
I said Kansas State looks good, but that BYU
Oh,
loss
Kansas
is definitely
State.
going to hurt
Kansas
them.
State.
Yeah.
There's a part of me
But
that
yeah.
thought you said Kent State, and I was like,
No.
They look the opposite from good. They look really bad, and they're also not in the Big 12. But
Right.
yeah, no, Kansas State's one of those teams. BYU, Iowa State, Colorado, believe it or not, is climbing back a little bit. I don't think that's going to sustain a whole Big 12 schedule, but
Probably not.
I mean, they're winning games here or there. So UCF was on track. They just got beat by Colorado. So
Pretty badly. We'll
yeah.
get to that one. Oklahoma State's falling down. Utah's falling down. It's like you said, it's wide open.
It is.
For
it
sure.
is.
Arkansas, we already hit on this one, but Arkansas lost to A&M on the road. I mean, close game, but I don't know. I didn't watch too much of it. Do you have anything to say about it?
I mean, I didn't watch it for bet's sake. I just kept checking the score.
Right.
And,
Me too.
I mean, they played it close. Like we expected a close game. We thought Arkansas would probably lose, but we just wanted them to lose as close as possible, and they did that for us.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. This one, we've kind of been, I don't want to say secret Boise State fans, but we've definitely been Ashton Genty fans this season. They go out and beat Wazoo, Washington State by 21 points. And on the back of Mr. Ashton Genty himself with 259 yards and 4 touchdowns. Man, that guy's fun to watch.
I just want to put it out there. We have been on the Ashton Genty bandwagon since week 1. After he performed week 1, and then after that he did it again, and everyone said he wasn't going to do it against anyone good. He did it against Oregon. And he hasn't stopped since. This guy he's on pace to do some really crazy things. I don't think if he actually keeps this pace the whole season, I don't care who the quarterback is on what winning team, the trophy's got to go to him. There's no debate here.
Guy's nuts.
And surely they keep winning because how do you lose when a player has 250 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns? I mean, there's just no – unless your defense is just non-existent. But
I mean, they beat Washington State.
Man.
They're not a terrible team.
I mean, as far as the running back tiers go in college football, I mean, I think he's on a tier of his own right now.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of very good running backs in college football right now. He's just –
He's one. He's at the top of the mountain. Everyone else is looking up at him.
And what's
as much as I love Dylan Sampson, not Ashton Genty.
You turn on the film and he's not getting perfect blocking.
No.
He'll run about 2 yards into a traffic of people, but he just fights off 6 people, bounces off a couple more. Next thing you know, he's running for another 60-yard touchdown. It's literally video game numbers and everything right now for him. And we'll see how long this rides, but I'm honestly here for it. It's probably the only player outside of Tennessee that I'm actually cheering for in the college football. Like I'm genuinely rooting for him. I hope to God we do not have to face him in a playoff situation or anything of that. That would be this podcast probably nightmare scenario. We love Ashton Genty.
You said it now. It's going to happen.
It probably will. It will probably. And honestly, Honestly, if it's a home playoff game in Neyland, I would not hate to see Ashton Jeanty play in person. I don't want him to
Right.
play well, but I want to see him play.
Yeah, I completely agree. Moving on down the line, Boston College gets a victory against Western Kentucky. Shout out Golden Eagles. Another ACC team that maybe could do something, but probably not on the same. I don't know. I'm going to leave it at that. Good win for them. NC State gets a win against Northern Illinois, albeit a 7-point win. But
So does that mean NC State's better than Notre Dame?
hey, if you think about it, NC
Which
State's
means
better than Notre Dame.
We
and we're
beat
better
NC
than Notre
State
Dame.
by like 40 by process of elimination in PEMDAS. We could beat Notre Dame by like 50, right?
Exactly.
That's how that works.
A game that I said would be a good game ended up not being a good game with UCF at Tulane. Tulane absolutely blew the doors off of South Florida, 45-10.
Yeah.
I don't know. UCF looks like the wheels might have fallen off after that Bama game. Maybe
I said the USF and Tulane games should just be. I think I said bet the over. I don't know what the over/under was set at.
Yeah.
Tulane might have done enough on their own to help that cause. I think that's 55 total point. Whatever it was at, it was probably close. It was probably close to the over.
For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, just going down the list here, Colorado. I know you want to talk about that one. Colorado looked great against UCF.
They did.
Conference matchup. Shadur throws for almost 300. I mean, yeah, I don't know what else to say except UCF probably underperformed. I mean, they were favorites going into this game at home.
By 2 scores.
Yeah, and they lost by 3 scores, almost 4.
It's not a very common thing.
No, not at all. Colorado fans probably made a lot of money this weekend.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But yeah, I still think until they prove us otherwise, it's just you don't really know what Colorado you're going to get.
And I still don't think they've played anyone that terrific.
No, they haven't. It seems like they either win big or lose in a crazy fashion. I mean,
Yeah.
Like absolutely exploding on themselves. Don't think I'm missing anything else. Oh, Florida State.
Oh, yes, yeah.
They thought we forgot about them. They're probably hoping we forgot about them.
If there's 3 things on this podcast that have been a reoccurring theme, it's Tennessee Vols, which is a given and that'll never change. Ashton Jeanty being the best player in the world, and then covering another Florida State disappointment. And boy, oh boy. SMU, and by that much, which I heard the funniest thing ever after that was when SMU tried to join the ACC, the teams vote. One of the only schools that voted against SMU to join the ACC was Florida State.
Well,
take that, Florida State. That's embarrassing. That is so embarrassing. And the fact that
26-point loss.
DJU is still on the field is beyond me at this point.
The fact that Norvell is still the coach is starting to become beyond me. I mean, we were high on him after their first couple of losses, but
they're what, 1-4?
Yep.
And oh man, who'd they beat again last week?
Cal,
and it wasn't even not even good. Oh man.
So they beat Cal.
Is Cal ACC now?
Yeah.
So
1-3 in the ACC,
and then you add the Memphis loss to it.
Yeah.
What a nightmare.
They're looking rough. Don't want to be a Seminole right now.
They were undefeated in the regular season last year.
Undefeated.
Yeah. Now they're just defeated. Jeez.
Uh,
I don't even
yeah.
know. That's so like
I don't know what to
that's
say
just
at this point.
that's just it's just like sad. I'm tired of I'm tired of talking about them. But but it's like it keeps baffling you. So why would we have to address it? I mean, good for SMU.
They play Clemson this week.
Hint, hint, wink, wink. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a
Yeah.
second. But
Well,
I think as
that
far
leaves
as
us one game.
yeah, it's like I think we got to get to
Yeah.
the
big
game.
one.
Yeah,
I'll let you kick that one off.
yeah. So obviously, Bama and Georgia played this past weekend. As a Tennessee fan, it was a dream scenario. We were on bye week. Didn't even have to worry about our game, and we could just sit at home and watch Georgia and Bama play because we knew they both can't win that week. Someone had to lose. And it kind of felt like both teams had some losing moments in that. I mean, I'm sure Bama fans are still riding high, telling you all I keep saying is we're the standard, we're the standard, we're still the standard. Okay, let's slow down real quick.
You're losing with
Yes,
13
you
seconds
just
left.
you just beat Georgia at home. That's a big win. That's a very big win. However, you blew a 30-point lead. That is not good. That is not good at all.
Yeah.
And just to get under the Bama fans' skin a little bit, they all know in the back of their head, Nick Saban would have never let that happen.
Absolutely.
So when have you ever seen Nick Saban get up 30 points and blow it? They should. Georgia really, really had a great opportunity to win that football game late, and Bama and Jalen Milroe got absolutely bailed out by the 17-year-old. Did you know he was 17?
A child.
The child.
A child.
Did you know he was 17? I don't know if they mentioned it enough that he was 17 years old. He's supposed to be playing high school football right now. Whatever. He's very, very good nonetheless. I mean, that's not what I'm making fun of. I'm making fun of the announcers. But I don't know. They can be happy with DeBoer all they want right now. But all I know is if they choked that 30-point lead and lost, I cannot even imagine what Bama fans would have been saying about DeBoer.
I'm sure there were some words said in that stadium.
75-yard touchdown later with 2 minutes to go, and all of a sudden everything's okay. But I will keep an eye on that. I mean, we talked about it in our own personal time. Both teams had one really bad half. Georgia, I don't know what their game plan was in the first half. They apparently were not expecting They looked like they weren't expecting Jalen Milroe to run the football. If you turn on any tape from the last 2 years of Jalen Milroe, there's a lot of running the football.
Mm-hmm.
And then
he was the leading rusher.
Then they flipped the script in the second half, and they're like, hey, why don't we stop him from running and make him throw the ball consistently? And they got right back in the football game. Carson Beck, on the other hand, threw for 450 yards, but he looked awful in the first half.
Bad.
I mean, all of his Heisman conversations went straight out the window in one half. I'm sure, I guarantee you his live odds probably tanked. I mean, 2 terrible interceptions, and there was a fumble in there somewhere. Georgia's offensive line doesn't look good, and they didn't run the ball. They didn't.
What happened to ETN?
You have Travis Etienne, or
Trevor?
Yeah, is
Trevor.
Travis the one? Travis is the NFL one. Okay.
Yeah.
You have Trevor Etienne, and what's supposed to be 5-star offensive lineman, or that's what you always are. That's been their whole gimmick the last few years. And tough Georgia running the football, they didn't run the ball. Like what? It felt like they were like trying not to win the game in the first half. The way they played terrible offense and didn't try on defense.
Yeah,
It felt like a YouTube Madden compilation of I'm trying to let my opponent get up 30 points to see if I can come back in a half. That's what it felt like. And then they started bombing the ball over the place and just hoping 50-50 balls were going to work. And it did. And I don't know. I don't know how you could truly sit there as an Alabama fan and not be somewhat worried about what happened in the second half.
I have no idea. I mean, yeah, like you were saying, story of two halves. Story of two halves. First half, Alabama took away Georgia's deep ball and looked like they rendered Georgia's offense useless. Second half, for whatever reason, they decided not to take away Georgia's deep ball anymore. And like you said, they're 50-50 balls, so maybe the way the coin flips, first half they don't get any of them, and second half they get all of them. But, I mean, man, I think they both look beatable. We got Alabama at home. We got Georgia on the road. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy to say that they both look beatable right now. Georgia probably more so than Alabama, considering they got beat. But having Alabama and Neyland is a big deal. I'm interested to see how DeBoer reacts to Neyland. I guarantee you it won't be the way Saban did.
The two big games Georgia's played this year, they've combined between 8 quarters to play they've only played 4 good quarters of football. Against Clemson to start the year, the first half they looked awful. Second half, dominated. Similar situation this go around. There's going to be a team, whether it's Tennessee or if they play Ole Miss or Texas. I think Texas they do play. Someone's going to get up early in the first half, and they're just not going to let you back in the game. There's teams that are good enough to do that. Bama, I think, probably is good enough to do that, but I don't know if they took the foot off the gas or whatever it was.
Don't do it again.
They were, we're talking Carson Beck and Georgia had the ball with 30, 40 seconds left at the 30-yard line to go tie the game. And then he threw an interception when they didn't really need to. They had 2 timeouts. They could have went to the middle of the field and dinked and dunked their way closer to the end zone. I'm not saying they would have tied it up or won or whatever, but I don't know. What a weird. I really don't know how Bama. If that was Tennessee in the situation, I'd be questioning things. I don't think I'd be like that was a great win. It was a win,
right.
And yeah, against a top team, and you should be happy about that. A win's a win at the end of the day. But you saw your team look probably like one of the most explosive teams in the country, to then the polar opposite in a matter of a couple hours. I mean, that you got to play a full 4-quarter game to beat really good teams, and I don't know. We'll see. Bama could come into Knoxville and absolutely whoop us. We can go to Georgia and get absolutely whooped. Listen, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying it's all in the realm of possibility of football.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It was a very weird game. We bet Georgia by -2.5, and for majority of the game, we thought there was really no chance. I mean, me and the friends that I was watching it with, we were jokingly saying, score and get a stop and score again and get a stop and right back in this thing. But that's kind of what they did. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if they really warranted moving up to number 1 in the country, but they are. So
I don't think they are. I'll say it. I'm sure I'll ruffle some feathers, but I don't think Alabama's the number 1 team in the country. I think the previous number 1 team in the country is still the number 1 team in the country. Texas continues to just dominate. They look better with – I don't want to say better. They look just as good with Arch back there as they did with Quinn back there. I mean, they look complete. I'm not trying to toot Texas's horn too much, but, man, I think they're still the best team in the country, if you ask me.
I personally thought it was their spot to lose.
Right.
I don't really know what they did to warrant a loss to that. I mean, I know they didn't play a good team in Mississippi State, and Bama played Georgia. Now, if Bama kept that 30-point win, that's another story. I think if you
Right, absolutely.
I don't know if the AP poll voters sent in their ballots before halftime of that game because that's the only really explanation. It ended
Yeah.
up being a touchdown game, and they didn't score in garbage time. It was I don't know. I mean, we can go on that game for forever. I mean, I was just happy that Josh Heupel didn't have to worry about a game that day. He could just sit there and watch that game and take into account for everything he saw. And I really hope there was a smile on his face because there's some flaws on both sides.
Absolutely.
And I don't think anyone from either fan base cannot deny that there's flaws. Neither one of those teams is perfect.
They both. I mean, I'm going to go back to this again and again. They both look beatable.
If it's not us, I think somebody will. Whether
Right.
it's Texas or somebody, I mean, Georgia now has one loss. I don't think Bama's going undefeated. I'm sorry, and I wouldn't be shocked if Georgia loses twice.
You know how that happens? Tennessee beats them both.
Hey, I would not hate that world, but we'd probably sacrifice all that and lose to Vandy at the end of the year. All right. Well, and then on that note, I guess we can highlight the games this week.
Yeah.
This is not the biggest slate of games.
Not the best.
We're setting up for next week. Next week is going to be awesome. October 12th is the one everyone's been talking about of all the different matchups. So if you want to start out with just kind of picking a few different matchups, and then we can get into what our parlay is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were talking about good games on Friday. Don't really have a really good game this week. I mean, you got Oregon playing Michigan State. That's really it. Maybe Michigan State could be the Virginia Tech of this week. That'd be exciting. But other than that, not really anything crazy on Friday. Saturday, first ranked matchup of the day is number 9 Missouri at number 25 Texas A&M. Are we talking about that one later? Is that one of the ones we decided on?
Let me double check. It is not. We thought about it.
Okay.
We thought about it.
We did think about it. A&M is 2-point favorites at home against number 9 Missouri. I mean, I don't know. Missouri hasn't really played anyone and almost lost to Vandy. A&M has had their fair share of ups and downs. Who knows what's going to happen in that game? SMU at Louisville. SMU looked good against Florida State. Who doesn't look good against Florida State? Louisville lost to Notre Dame. Boston College plays Virginia. Virginia's favored by 1 point. Wouldn't be surprised if that's a pick 'em by game time. Let's see. Just trying to hit the highlights here.
Yeah.
Iowa at number 3 Ohio State. That's a Big Ten matchup. Auburn at number 5 now Georgia. Wouldn't be surprised if Georgia is looking to make a statement.
Yeah.
This week. And
it's also an underrated rivalry. People don't.
It is, yeah. Auburn is right on the Alabama-Georgia line. First game that we did end up betting on is the Ole Miss South Carolina game. So we can talk about that one later, or talk about it more later. But I don't know. I think this one could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Ole Miss coming off a tough, embarrassing loss at home to Kentucky. Our thought process for betting on this one is, which we will highlight, is taking South Carolina at, what was it, plus
9.5.
Plus 9.5. Now, you would think, okay, Ole Miss coming off a loss, statement time, but they just lost to Kentucky. And if you're using a little bit of logic, Kentucky got smacked earlier this season by South Carolina. South Carolina has played solid football. They lost to LSU close when they probably could have and should have won that game. And then you got to take into account this is a home game for South Carolina. If this was in Ole Miss in Oxford, I don't know if I'd be as confident in South Carolina. I
No.
think we probably expect potential blowout. However, this being home and the situation we're in, I mean, I think South Carolina beats Ole Miss? No. Is it possible? Yes. But we are just taking account for we think that they can keep it a one-score game.
Right. Absolutely. Next, at least the next notable game, now number 1 Alabama in Nashville against Vanderbilt. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm just saying it'd be crazy if it did happen.
Weirdly enough, it feels like Vandy's going to – I feel like Vandy will play better on the road this year.
Yeah.
Number one,
like
they don't have much of a home, like
their stadium's not done yet.
that, and they have a lack of fandom, I guess is the best way to put it. They don't have a home field advantage. That's what I'm looking for.
Right,
That's what I'm trying to say.
They don't.
So I think they're going to go cover and be spoilers in the against the spread in a lot of these games on the road, but the home ones, there's no telling. I mean, your hope is that Bama, if you want to bet the Vandy plus 22 or whatever it is, Bama might be on an emotional high, and that might come crashing down a week later. You know, they just played a very emotional football game against Georgia. I could see a world where they come out very flat in the first half.
Me too. Absolutely. I'll have to keep an eye on that one on Saturday. You got number 15 Clemson at Florida State. I mean, Clemson's going to win this game. I don't want to say going to. It's college football, anything could happen. But Clemson's probably going to win this game. And they're probably going to cover the 14.5 point spread, to be honest.
Which is another part of our parlay. But the one thing that scares me, which I just realized I was sitting here. This is
binge game.
Yeah, I did not even. That did not cross my mind when we were picking our parlay. That would be something.
It would be something. I don't know how crazy it is to say this because I don't want to think that college coaches play politics or play this game at all. But, I mean, how crazy would it be to say that Norvell's kept DJU as a starter this long just to see what he does in this game? And if he doesn't do anything against his old team, then call it.
I mean, whether that be intentional or not, that's probably the case.
Right.
What will probably I mean, there's got to be a certain point where you just bench him. And
you lose 5 games.
This also is a DJU revenge game. On the other hand, this is Dabo and Kate Klumbick being like, hey, we've moved on from you. We're better than we were.
We made the right call.
Sorry about it. We made the right decision. So what kind of is reassuring me is it's not just one-sided as far as that goes. So we're going to.
It'll be interesting. Yeah. We got our boy Ashton Ginty playing against Utah State this week. Boise State's number 21 now. So look for him to have another dominant game. Then at 7:30 on ABC, we've already talked about number 4 Tennessee at Arkansas. Gonna be a good one. Next part of our parlay, number 10 Michigan at Washington. I guess you could call it a rematch of last year's national championship, although neither of these teams are a shadow of what they were last year. And Washington's actually favored. So we can talk about that more when we go through our parlay. But
I mean, when's the last time that 2 national championship teams lose their coaches in the same offseason?
I have no idea.
I would love to know that because it's got to be a very long time. Like number one, when do national championship coaches ever leave in general? Maybe retire at the most. But the fact that they are playing each other after being in the Natty, And then on top of that, I mean, Harbaugh's gone, and DeBoer went to Bama. So, I mean, neither one has their starting quarterback from last year, starting running back. I mean, two
Nothing.
completely different rosters, coaching staff. I mean, it's night and day compared to a year ago.
Yeah. I couldn't find anything. Just
It
tried to
probably
quickly
hasn't
look it up,
happened.
other than Jim Harbaugh joining a short list. Is what it said of coaches who have left after winning. But yeah, it might not have. It probably hasn't happened.
And then
Next up,
on top of, and the reason why we kind of chose Michigan is we were debating on why was Michigan underdogs against a subpar Washington team this year, like by 2.5. We really were kind of confused.
kind of seemed sus. Kind of seemed like Vegas might know something we don't, but we decided not to overthink it and just go with our gut.
I mean, they should be the better team. So,
Yeah,
plain and simple. So,
right. I believe that's the last part of our parlay, so we can go over it all again after this. Just wanted to highlight the last bit of games. You got number 11 USC at Minnesota. Minnesota gave Michigan a fight. Could be interesting. Michigan beat both of these teams, so we'll love to see how that plays out. You got Baylor at number 16, Iowa State. Big 12 matchup. Look for Iowa State to probably win this game. They're favored by 11.5. Got a Florida matchup in UCF in Gainesville. Who knows who wins that game? UCF is favored by 3. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I'll probably stay away from it, to be honest. And then I guess the last notable game of the night at 10:30, you got an ACC after dark. You got number 8 Miami at Cal. I'm not saying Cal's a good team. They're the only team that Florida State's beaten. But this is going to be a shock for Miami, traveling all the way across the country and playing at 10:30 at night. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Cal's looks solid, so I don't know.
Right. The Golden Bears.
After I saw what from Miami last week, I mean, it's possible they lose. It's not like
Absolutely is.
But other than that, have we? So we gone through the slate. So let me just pull up the parlay here.
No. Yes. No, I am. Can you zoom in at all?
Apparently not.
That's fine.
Well, I think that made it worse.
I was making it bigger.
Are you able to see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a 4-leg parlay, it being plus 1297 odds. So like we mentioned, we think South Carolina at home is going to cover 9.5 points against Ole Miss. We have Clemson on the road in a DJU Clemson rematch, whatever you want to call it, winning by 14.5. And then we, of course, are going to take the Tennessee Vols to cover their spread against Arkansas on the road, minus 13.5. And then we have Michigan as underdogs, even though they should be the favorites on the road against Washington. So we're going to put 10 on it to win 139. You can put as much as you want on it, or like we always say, this is not financial advice, so you don't need to bet on this at all. Make sure it's legal in your state. That's not really up to us. But as far as that goes,
bait us, do whatever you want.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you
got pretty close.
If you want to bet with us, then bet with us. If you don't, you don't. Other than that, I think we had another podcast of college football down. I think that's probably it for episode 10. So once again, thank you for listening. Check us out on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Spotify. And like, comment, subscribe, all those things on there. And we will be posting again on Friday morning for our NFL preview, like always. So, once again, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Take it easy, y'all.